UFP, the United Federation of Podcasts.
Engage.
78 years have passed since the days of the original USS Enterprise. Now a new Galaxy starship has been designed.
Transporter Chief, beam our listeners aboard. Welcome to Galaxy Class, a Star Trek The Next Generation podcast on the United Federation of Podcasts Network. I am Diplomatic Standard Bearer Kevin Scharf. With me today is the entire crew. Chief Recreational Officer Ria Papagiorgio, Head of Astrophysics Joe Keegan, and Counselor Amy Nelson. Hello, crew.
Hello, entire crew.
Hello. This is so exciting. I'm loving having all of us. Way to start the new year.
It is good.
Our Galaxy class starship is fully staffed.
Ooh. Well, how's everybody's holiday? Everybody survived the new year?
It was wonderful.
Good.
Ate a lot.
It's quiet.
New truck.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah, I think Ria's got the best gift for the new year. That new truck is beautiful.
So too.
I'm almost afraid to drive it, but not really.
Well, I think we should just get right into it. Let's check the communications array and see if we have any comments from our listeners.
Logs accessed.
In the Federation Council chambers, Tim Hands writes, Happy New Year to Amy Nelson and everyone at Galaxy Class and the UFP Network. Well, thank you, Tim. Happy New Year to Amy Nelson and you as well.
Yes, Happy New Year, Amy Nelson.
Well, thank you, Tim. We absolutely love you and are so glad that you are a listener and that you comment, and we just love talking with you on Facebook. So thank you.
And we fully acknowledge that we're Amy Nelson and the Supremes here.
Whatever.
Supremes? I thought I was a Pip.
Oh.
Amy Nelson and the Pip.
A Pip.
Like right on her collar. One of those Pips.
Let's see. So if Troy is 2.5, then who's the half?
I'm the half.
Me. No, me. I want to be a half.
Oh
I know, Joe, you and I can each be 3/4. Does the math check,
Okay.
Miss Amy?
Agreed.
There you
yes.
go. Yep. Sold.
Well, what do you say we jump right into our feature discussion?
Sounds like a plan.
Let's do it.
This is the captain. Senior officers will report to my ready room immediately.
Excellent. So we are going to continue our series of character profiles, and today we are going to be discussing Lieutenant Commander Data. We will be focusing mostly on his time during the Next Generation, and we're going to leave out anything from Joe's favorite show, Star Trek Picard.
Yay!
We'll see how many times Joe references Picard here, though.
Might be quite a few.
So let's just start with the general question. What is the first thing you think of when I say Lieutenant Commander Data? Start with Ria.
I knew you were going to pick me first. That's one I kind of struggled with. What's the first thing I think of? I guess he's an android. You know, I think of his pale skin and yellow eyes and brown hair and mustard uniform. And how shallow of me. I think of his appearance.
Well,
Joe, what about you? Oh, okay, go ahead, Amy. You know what do you think of?
When I think of Lieutenant Commander Data, I think of his speech patterns and how unique and different that it sets him apart, not using contractions, and the way in which he chooses to put his words in order. Just sometimes I'm like, how do the writers do that? That's so awesome, because as Ria says, like, he's an android, so it's different in his speech patterns. So I think of his speech patterns.
Interesting. Joe, what about you?
It's not something that would have occurred to me to think about his speech patterns. I think the first thing, I agree with Ria, the first thing you think about is the fact that he's an android. He's not kind of a a biological member of the crew. The other thing that I was thinking of would be his search or his quest to be more human, wouldn't it? Because that goes with him throughout the entire season and the movies. This need to kind of understand what it is to be human or biological, I suppose, and all the like his study of comedy and what it is to get humour and all those kind of things. His study of Sherlock Holmes and Shakespeare
and all of his hobbies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, trying to understand the human condition.
Exactly, and I think that's sort of what I think of too. First is that he's our outside look at humanity character, just like Spock was on the original series. Mm-hmm. He's the character that we use to examine what it means to be human. A robot who wants to be a man. That's in some ways a classic trope, going back to Pinocchio. Mm-hmm. Even Commander Riker calls him that in the very first episode. And I think that's what makes him intriguing. I almost wonder when you break down which character got the most featured episodes. It's got to be Data's got to be right up there, along with Worf and Picard. Those seem to be the three characters that got the most featured stories. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, and definitely as the movies go on, we know it ends up being the Data and Picard movies, at least for the last two. But yeah, I agree. Data has a lot of episodes that we could say are quote-unquote Data episodes.
Exactly.
And some really strong moments in episodes that aren't Data episodes, one of which I will be bringing up later on.
Yes, when I was doing my research and watching a few episodes for our show today, I tried to avoid the sort of obvious Data episodes, anything with the Soong family or lore, and I went for some episodes that I think showcase Data in a bit of a different light, and I'm intrigued to talk about those. So
cool.
So why don't we go on to topic number 2, which is obscure facts. Does anyone have any obscure facts about Mr. Data?
I have a
Amy's
couple.
got one. Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't know this, so in doing my research, his mass is approximately 100 kilograms, and that's 220 pounds. I'm telling you. I don't believe Brent Spiner has ever been 220 pounds. I just am saying that maybe they should have worked that math a little bit better.
No, well, it's just because he's really dense.
Okay, all right.
He's made of duranium, which is much heavier than bone.
Okay, all right. I'll buy that. Okay, that's working for me. And my second wonderful...
It does say name one obscure fact.
Well, I have two.
Well, maybe you can go again on the second go around.
I have two too, Joe. So
you might steal somebody else's fact if you go twice.
I'm sure I won't.
You might.
Ooh, I want to hear this.
Math.
If it's obscure.
Do you have a math related?
Oh, there's numbers in it.
Well, Joe, why don't you give us your obscure fact then?
Yeah,
is there data in it, Joe?
There is data, yes. Or data, if you're being offensive. Okay, data is composed of 24.6 kilograms of tripolymer composites, 11.8 kilograms of molybdenum cobalt alloys, and 1.3 kilograms of bioplast sheeting. Which doesn't add up to 100 kilograms, so there must be other stuff.
There is.
Positronic
chocolate
stuff.
Lubricating fluid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hair.
Hair. Rhea, what's your obscure fact?
Well, the reason I have two is because one isn't exactly a data obscure fact, but rather a kind of more of a production-y one. But he appeared in every single TNG episode and movie except for family, which I thought was kind of funny because he seems to have the most extensive family that spans the centuries. And in Frame of Mind, he only appeared as a hallucination. But yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. But I think my obscure fact was prior to his serving on the Enterprise D, he served on the USS Trieste. He was assigned there after he graduated Starfleet Academy as an ensign, and that's where he was promoted to lieutenant, ahead of Harry Kim.
All right.
Well, my obscure fact is that Data's composition is so dense that at the beginning of the series, he was not able to swim, and he sinks to the bottom of lakes. He once walked across the bottom of a lake because he couldn't swim. That was until Descent, when apparently he had installed some personal flotation devices because he could float, and he saved some people in the movie Star Trek Insurrection. He swam. He floated people out of a lake there too. So I thought that was an interesting obscure fact.
Yes.
I wonder, and Amy or Joe, I guess maybe this is a physics thing, but maybe he was able to like bring air in to increase his buoyancy. Maybe he had some internal air sacs or something.
Yeah, I think so. Because I think that's sort of, what happened in Insurrection at that lake.
I reckon there was maybe a little pull cord on the bottom of his leg that he pulled, a bit like when your plane's crashing and you put the life vest on, you have to pull the cord to inflate it.
That is exactly what I was thinking, except I was thinking it was an entire raft that just expanded and
like giant MC Hammer pants that inflate.
It comes out his butt, a giant raft. Yeah.
A Data butt raft. That's awesome.
Exactly.
Hop aboard.
So, Amy, you had another fact?
I did.
Did we snipe your facts?
Yeah, no one has said it yet. So Data is programmed to blink randomly, and he picked it up when he saw Juliana Tainer, which is how he knew that she was an android. But uses the Fourier series to do that randomness, and that is a mathematical series that looks at sine and cosine and the composition of functions to make different types of functions. Anyways, it's math, Fourier series, so yeah, it's good.
Amy, we need to start a podcast called Math Treks, because that would be so cool.
Well, I figure if I mention it here and there, that it's sort of, they get it.
Get into some more detail. We can have Amy at her Geordie-style PowerPoint board and
yes!
read PDFs with each podcast.
Call it Mathematrix.
I like it.
Nice.
Another sort of, this isn't really quite a fact, because Data officially is ambidextrous. He can use both his hands equally. But if you ever watch him painting or doing anything that requires fine motor skills, he favors his left. That is because Brent Spiner is a lefty.
Yes, that is
like all cool people.
Not all cool people. Don't roll your eyes at me, Papa Giorgio.
I was looking at the order of the words that I said to make sure I had it right. A Venn diagram of cool people and left-handed people, and anyway, more math.
So that's some obscure trivia about Data, but what do you think are his crowning achievements? Joe, why don't we start with you? What are his biggest moments on the show?
I really want... Do you know what I really want to pick? I really want to pick something... your notes are just open because Rhea wanted to steal some of them, so I'm just making sure that she doesn't steal them. Maybe
I didn't steal them.
I really want to pick something from Measure a Man because it's like one of my favourite episodes, but it's not really about Data. It's about Data, but it's not Data that does all the work to save him. So I can't pick that. I realise. I think the other one that really jumps out at me is creating Lal.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only time we ever see him create an offspring for himself. Yes, she doesn't survive. Data lacks the ability to replicate her positronic network. So she sadly dies, which may come in as one of his regrets for me later. But definitely his ability to procreate, albeit unsuccessfully. What do you guys think about that?
I like it.
I was thinking about Lal too, and how it in a way, it does seem like a crowning achievement, but because it ended so tragically, can I put that at the top of the list? You know? It again, it's part of his quest to become human, and, you know, part of being alive is the ability to procreate. So I want to give him that as a crowning achievement, but in the end, it really didn't add up.
Yeah, I get it.
Well, I mean, how many human parents have, you know, lost a child, or, you know, women that have had miscarriages or whatever, or people like me that just will not breed. I don't know. At least he tried.
True. Amy, do you have a crowning achievement for Data?
I think his crowning achievement. Wow. Okay. I like, Joe, that you said lol, and I was hesitant to bring that up because I was going to talk about that sort of with family relationships, but that is definitely a crowning achievement. I think I will say his crowning achievement was during First Contact, the movie, when the Borg Queen put the human flesh on his arm, and he had 0.68 seconds where he actually considered, like, could this happen if I, you know, work with the Queen? Could I get this body and android together? Can I get that? And I think, although it didn't work out, but I think that's his crowning achievement, because that's what he's always wanted, was to become more human. And this was, I think, the closest that he became in combining the body and the skin with his android parts.
Right. I never think of Data as a leader of men, right? Like, I don't, and although, like, in all good, no, it wasn't even in all good things. Did we ever see Data in charge of a ship as opposed, like,
constantly,
he was given the con, but it never seemed to be a goal of his to be a captain. Like, he wasn't in Starfleet for the career fast track to the captain's chair, like, say, Riker is, right? Like, Riker wants to be a captain. Data seems, I hate to use the word happy, but let's say
content,
but again, even is that an emotion? Data seems to be,
he doesn't have an ego that drives him to
right. He's there to help, and he's like the ultimate sidekick almost, right? Like, he has almost unlimited knowledge. He's got super strength. He's, you know, he can breathe underwater and in the vacuum of space, you know, so he's almost like a one-man Starfleet, but he's egoless. So I gotta say, like, maybe his crowning achievement comes in an episode like Cause and Effect, where he realizes, my hypothesis is wrong. I've got to go with Riker.
Just to pick up on a point that you said there, Kevin, about we don't really see him in command. We do briefly in, is it Descent?
It's an episode and a command that I'm going to talk about at length later.
Okay.
In going and reading, he was captain a lot of times and had control of the ship a lot of times.
Yeah.
Not captain,
put in charge.
He was captain of the...
He was given the con.
Yeah.
But he was captain of the USS Sutherland in Redemption Part 2. Yeah. Yes. I have a lot to say about that, so we'll get there.
Okay, me too. Ooh, nice.
But
is maybe his crowning achievement then, Amy, you mentioned First Contact. Is that a crowning achievement, or is it just something that makes us cheer when he says to the Borg Queen, resistance is futile, and then smashes the coolant tanks? Mind, because the torpedoes, he fired the torpedoes, but they missed the Phoenix. Is that to go so far to make the Borg Queen think that you're still on her side, then for it to be a bluff?
Yeah, he double-crossed the Borg Queen.
Yeah, it's pretty...
Right, exactly.
It's pretty cool.
He did stand up to the entire collective.
Yeah.
Really. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think his crowning achievement was clearly in the Schizoid Man when he grew a beard. But aside from that, this was another one I had to think about a lot, because you look back on his career, what is he known for? Well, he has so many special skills and abilities and capabilities that organic Starfleet members don't. And how many times did he save, the crew of the Enterprise or the Galaxy or whatever, because of his unique skill set. But I think his crowning achievement would be a personal one for him, in that I think, Amy, you mentioned it earlier, or one of you did, I was paying attention, that he's not in it for himself. Like, he doesn't have that ego. He's not looking for career advancement. And as a result can be pretty selfless, but anyway, sacrificing himself in Nemesis. I think that showed that he had achieved his personal goal of humanity, of, the greatest act of love for one's brother is to give your life, or however that that phrase goes. So that's what I had for him. He achieved his personal goal of becoming human.
So I think that's everybody's. Everybody has given their crowning achievements here. So what about family? We know a lot about the family of a man who wasn't born or created in a lab. So how do you feel that Data interacts with his family?
Well, I had the biggest influence in terms of his family members on him was his father. Not the least of which being, again, Rhea, the visual person. He looks just like his dad. He was created in his father's image and likeness. He was also programmed by his father, and his father was a constant influence in his life, appearing in his dreams and all that. His father basically kind of lived within him in a way. So that's the one that I had.
Right. Joe?
The one that kind of sticks with me for positive reasons is Juliana Taylor, the android. We think she's human. We think she's Data's real human, adoptive mother, but turns out that she's actually an android, and she's very advanced. But there's lots of wee human moments, and when they do the violin duet together, I really like that. It's a musical episode, which I'm always a bit of a sucker for. So, yeah, that relationship. The other relationship, I've mentioned Lal before, so that's another obvious one, but I suppose they're just such brief opportunities for us to see those relationships, and they're both very positive, so I'm going to choose two, Lal and Juliana Taylor, I think.
Yeah, those are both really good choices, and I'm glad you brought up Lal again, because I feel like, as you said, Data, I think, grew the most as a person, as an android, as understanding the human development by creating Lal. And I think that is a huge relationship that he needed to have to help his progression.
Well, we have to think, too, that Data didn't know his family until later, right? He was found on that colony world deactivated, right? And so his father wasn't around. He was basically raised by Starfleet, I think. So he didn't really get to know anybody who's in his... And then the first family member he runs across is his evil twin brother, right? So it's amazing he turned out as sane and competent as he did with the family lineage that he's got. So
yeah, he's got the family lineage of a soap opera.
Exactly.
But the positronic matrix of an android. So
perfect.
I think that's maybe a reason why he goes into Starfleet, is because it was Starfleet officers that rescued him initially, and then his experience after that is largely with Starfleet, because you don't really know how much what his memory is like from before he was rescued, apart from he had knowledge of the colonists. Remember that episode where he could replicate their voices, and he had all the logs downloaded? So
yeah, how much of his life before he was I guess disassembled and found by Starfleet. Does he even remember? I don't remember.
Amy, did you have some thoughts about his family?
Yeah, so I'm glad that y'all brought those up because I was going to say Noonien or Lal. But I figured that you guys would mention that. So I'm going to mention his relationship with B4. And I, of course, will take any opportunity to talk about Nemesis. But what I love about B4 is that he just instantly is like big brother. Again, different than Lore. Like he really, I think, feels the need to protect B4, to, download and try and give him the best life possible. Like he's setting B4 up to be successful. And although B4 has that extra port and, betrays the crew, like he just doesn't know any better. And so it's like, Data has this special needs brother and is doing everything possible and doesn't judge him and doesn't doubt him. Just like, this is what it is and this is what I'm going to do to help him become more than he is. Again, I love that whole theme in the movie, but I think it applies to Data as well because that's what Data wants. He wants to be more than he is programmed to. And passes that on and shares that concern with B4. And so I really like his relationship with B4.
I like that.
Awesome.
And that's, I wonder if he had come across B4, say in, season 2 of Next Generation.
If he came across B4 before Lore.
Yeah. How differently would he have related to him? Or before... all the character development, all his growth as an individual, as a sentient being that happened during the series. If he'd have come across B4 earlier, would he have taken him on as his special needs brother, the way he did in Nemesis?
Mm-hmm.
Guess we'll never know.
That is going to go on our what if list.
Amy is furiously taking notes.
I have a thought about Data that doesn't really fit into any of the topics that we've got listed here. And it's one thing that's always sort of bugged me, and it's because of the nature of the series. Like, at the beginning of the show, Data is a lieutenant commander, which means he's been in Starfleet for quite a while. And yet he's written as if he's never spent any time around people. So I've got to wonder... and I haven't read any Star Trek novels about Data before he joins the Enterprise crew. If on his last command before this, he didn't interact with anybody. If he did his job and then went back to his quarters and recharged or something, plugged into the iPhone port. because his growth throughout the course of Next Generation. It seems it feels natural, but I also feel like he started from a place at a lower standard than he should have.
Right, like the rate of growth was much greater aboard the Enterprise D than it was aboard the Trieste.
Exactly.
So, Kevin, if I can posit and suggest maybe his time at Starfleet Academy and on his previous ships assignments were extremely short because of how advanced and how well and perfect he is able to go through courses. I mean, he probably was able to do Starfleet Academy in a year. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, just download the curriculum.
Right, exactly. And so he doesn't need that time to accomplish learning the material and, practicing the skills. Like he knows how to drive a starship. So he doesn't need practice because it's programmed, Right. So I think that time doesn't really start until, obviously for our purposes, when we meet him on the Enterprise D. So in my mind, that's sort of how I let that go.
That is good headcanon.
I'm looking at his chronology here, which it comes from the Greek, but we all know that. According to this, he was built in 2336 and discovered in 2338, so he was only 2 years old when he was discovered. In 44, he was permitted to enter Starfleet, so he would have been eight years old.
Yeah.
But he graduated 4 years later as an ensign, and I imagine there was quite a bit of, I mean, the book learning he had down, but learning, the how to act and all that stuff probably took a lot of time. He served.
Yeah, now you're just ruining everything.
Well, I have another theory.
Maria.
And then he served aboard the Trieste in the 50s. In 51, he was promoted to lieutenant, so 3 years after he graduated from Starfleet Academy, again, way ahead of the Henry Kim plan. Promoted to commander in 63 and assigned to the Enterprise D. So that would have had him, that was 15 years between from when he graduated and when he was assigned to the Enterprise. But I think as an ensign and a lower decker, that he wouldn't have had, on the Enterprise, he was on the bridge crew. So he was in a place where he was developing relationships with, the bridge crew kind of as a family. And I think, here's my theory. On the Trieste, he was a lower decker. He may have been, reassigned from group to group, however they do things in the lower decks, and didn't have the opportunity to develop personal relationships the way he did as a member of the bridge crew. And also, I think the learning curve of learning how to be a social human, because he is, I guess, built in the form of a human, is probably really, really steep. And then about the time he got to the Enterprise was when he's just starting to get over that hump. I'm drawing curves with my hands, listeners, and Amy knows what I mean because it's math.
Yes, it is. The learning curve.
Joe, do you have any thoughts on this topic that I brought up?
There was something about what Amy said earlier, and it was Rhea, wasn't it? About his search to become more human. And I think in all the times that we see him strive to be more human, it's because we see it more on screen. Does it kind of in a way portray him as being the most human member of the crew? Because he's got this need to be more human and understand what it is to be human. So we see him displaying the best of what humanity has to offer. And in so doing, we see him become human without actually being human, if you know what I mean.
I get what you're saying, yeah.
Well, let's go back to the topics as they were in our outline, and let's talk about regrets. Do you think Data has any regrets? And so who would like to go first on the topic of regrets?
I think I've maybe mentioned it previously when I spoke about family. It has to be, for me, not being able to save Lal. Okay, it keeps on coming back to, you don't see it happen on screen. You see the Admiral come out of the science lab and explain that Data's hands were moving so fast trying to repair the positronic connections, and ultimately he just couldn't save Lal. And I was like, oh, that's horrible. Like, that's why doctors or surgeons are not allowed to operate on their families, because they would be too emotionally invested. And you can imagine Data, where we can't experience the emotions of loss. It's, from our perspective, you understand how difficult that would have been, having just given birth essentially to this young life, to then lose it very quickly and not be able to save it. That has to be a massive regret, although we know that he probably can't feel regrets.
That's the thing. Data has no regrets because he has no emotions.
And plus he's dead now, so...
Well, plus he doesn't even exist yet, so
yeah. Yeah,
when Joe, every time you talk about the offspring and Lal, the emotions come back to me. But as you were talking about with Data, and it's like, yeah, he doesn't really have any emotions. And at least with Lal and how you're talking about how doctors shouldn't be allowed to operate on their family members, like Lal wasn't in any pain. So Data really, in theory, could have continued working on Lal nonstop. Like, because she's not in pain, he's not in pain. And for him to decide, yeah, I can't repair this, that I think maybe goes to what you're saying, that regret, that it's like, why can't I fix this? And I should have been able to fix it. And I know we're assigning emotions to Data that was not, but we all know he does have emotions. But yeah, I think that is where the regret comes in, that it's like he could have kept on going and going and working on Lal nonstop, 24 hours. But for him to decide, yep, it's done, I think that's where the regret comes in.
I had a different one for regret. Just, because thinking about the Lal thing, he did everything he could and just wasn't able to save her. And that's just, reality. So I don't know, and especially being an android, I don't think he would feel regret for that. I mean, he stopped because he had done everything he could and there wasn't more that he could do. But if he had any regrets, the one that came to mind for me was in Brothers, when his father was killed, basically, by Lore. In that situation, I wonder if he would look back and examine whether or not he could have done something to save his brother, or to save his father's life. Or if he could have done something to not be tricked by his brother again. Like maybe because maybe he could have done something, he could have saved his father's life, as opposed to Lal, where it was a cascade failure. Tech, he couldn't do it.
Amy, see when you said a minute ago about Data could have just continued to work on Lal and not stopped until maybe hopefully one day he found a solution to fix what went wrong. It kind of paints Lal as being kind of a bit of a toaster, doesn't it? Like, she's so far removed from being biological that you could literally just keep it in the garage and go and tinker with it when you've got time. But I think maybe you get the idea of the positronic brain being in some way very similar to a human brain, and that if something catastrophically goes wrong, no amount of tinkering and jiggery pokery is going to make you be able to fix it again. I think.
I have to wonder if when Data did get his emotion chip, if there would have been waves of regret for things he did in his life wash over him. I'm thinking of the way he treated Jenna Desora when they were dating.
That makes me feel uncomfortable.
You know?
When he gets angry, I'm like, part of me was a little bit scared for Jenna, because he's a really powerful android, but he's acting like an angry boyfriend. I'm like,
he could have downloaded the wrong prototype of angry boyfriend or abusive boyfriend. Yeah. There's a fine line.
Just a thought. I just wondered if he did any reflection after he installed that chip in himself.
I'm sure he did.
He had a lifetime of experiences that he remembers in minute detail, right?
Plus, he spent time, he remembered the jokes from Encounter at Farpoint, and he laughed at them. So if he remembers all the comedy moments and relives them, then you got to know that he's going to
be reliving the deaths of Tasha and Lal and
everybody else, pushing poor Dr. Crusher off the ship, off the plank. Would he regret that? I don't agree that wasn't funny. I think that was very funny.
It was very funny.
It was very funny
thing to do. And Jordy was just being mean when he says that wasn't funny.
Although I think looking back on his life, he would know that he always acted, logically and without emotion, and so I don't know how much of that he would regret.
So I have a question for you guys. Do you think that Data has any regrets from the episode The Most Toys?
I love that episode.
So the phaser went off in transport. Do you think that he regrets that Fajo didn't die? Or do you think that he regrets that he pulled the trigger? Do you think there's any regrets? Because Fajo didn't die.
He didn't die.
Yeah.
Because he get beamed out as he fired.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do you think that Data regrets that Fajo is still living, that he didn't kill him?
No, I think it couldn't have worked out better for Data. I don't think he regrets pulling that trigger or the transporter accidentally setting it off. He did, because at the time that was his only option. His purpose was to stop Fajo. But in the course of being beamed out, now Fajo's in custody. And actually, like I said, it worked out better because Data gets to, if he were human, gloat. You know, oh, you're in prison now. Bah, ha, 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 ha. So.
It was a very human moment for Data, that, you know. Does he regret it? I don't think so. I think he did it.
But do you think that he regrets Fajo is still living? Because if at that point he decided in his head that it was necessary and needed for him to pull the trigger, then he's thinking that it's necessary that Fajo dies.
No, I think Data thought at the time, this is the only solution to the problem that I have at the moment, is for him to die, and then he'd essentially be free. However, having been beamed out, then that gives Data a whole other set of solutions, i.e. follow the rule of law and get justice for all the wrongs that Kivas Fajo did. And so the best solution at that point would be that Kivas is in a Federation prison somewhere with a hammer and a million boulders.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think. However, I think the most human part of that scene, and I'm skipping ahead to my favorite moment here, but isn't the fact that he pulled the trigger, but the fact that he lied to Riker. He covered it up. I love that part.
That's probably the most human thing that he's ever done.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
See, if he had just had the forethought to explain it how I just explained it,
right?
Like in that moment, that was the only solution. But now that you beamed me out, just as I was about to implement that solution, then there are other solutions now.
Other options, yeah.
Yeah.
But he did. Yeah. Well, I'll save it for my.
But he
favorite
lied.
moment.
He lied.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to topic number 5, and that is leadership. And the question becomes, what leadership characteristics do you admire most? And, well, let's just leave it there. What leadership characteristics in Data do you see that you admire the most? I want to start on this one.
Okay.
One of the episodes I watched today was The Ensigns of Command. And this was the episode where Data was the only one who could beam down to the planet because of a radiation field. And he had to evacuate what turned out to be 15,000 people from the planet. And he tried everything he could think of. The thing that I admire most about Data is that he is willing to listen and learn and come up with new strategies. He never gave up. There were times when he thought, I've done everything I could, but then something would happen and he would learn one more thing that he could try. And he kept trying. And he's not afraid to say, like I mentioned in the episode in Cause and Effect, he's not afraid to say, wait a minute, my theory is wrong. Let's use this guy's theory. He's always willing to listen and learn and improve his leadership abilities and his commands. Amy's got something to say about that.
Yes, I am absolutely going to just echo what you said, because that's exactly what I feel like. Data is always running self-diagnostics. And what an amazing example that is to us, that we need to be self-reflecting. We need to be saying, how can we get better? And I'm telling you, almost every single episode, I ran a self-diagnostic. How often, literally, how often do we take a moment to run a self-diagnostic? How is our life going? What are we doing to improve? How are we becoming a better human, like Data? And I love the leadership style in Redemption when he gets placed captain of the Sutherland, and he has to deal with that very stubborn and very anti-android first officer Hobson. Is that his name? I think it was. And this guy is not wanting to take any commands or orders from Data. And it's like, dude, this is your captain. If Starfleet is willing to trust him and place him as captain over one of their ships, you should be able to follow directions and follow orders. So I love that he, again, and he's self-diagnostic, self-reflecting as well. And it's like, well, maybe I'm not fit to, be a captain. And so he's like going through the process and thinking logically, again, not letting his emotions get in the way because he doesn't have any, but like going through the process and trying to figure out, is this the best place where I need to be? Can I operate as a captain? Oh, yes, I can. And this is how it's going to go. Thanks to Picard. So to me, that's the best leadership example when he's in charge of the Sutherland.
Oh, yeah. So I have to talk about Redemption 2 a little bit because there are some things that really kind of hit close to home with me. And right in the beginning of that episode, when Picard's when they're setting up their plan for the blockade and Picard's assigning duties, and Data goes to Picard and says, hey, I've got 27 years, however much it is. Is there a reason why, you're not assigning me the captaincy of a ship? And he said, if it's that androids, if Starfleet's not ready to have androids as captains, blah, blah, blah. And that's one of the things that hits close to home, because when I got into professional baseball in 1999 as an umpire, that was something that was actually stated out loud to me on more than one occasion is, baseball's not ready for a female umpire. So but then to see Picard and his humility and catch himself. Okay, so then fast forward and you've got Data taking command of the Sutherland, and you have that bigot, Hobson. And I say bigot because he wasn't just a, organic supremacist, but he even said, well, you can't have a Klingon as a counselor, or I forget what else he said, a Bolian as a barber or whatever. Well, you can. But anyway, that's another thing that, my slightly traumatic baseball experience. Oh, you can't have a woman as an umpire. Whoa, ho, ho, ho. Yeah, you can. We're actually better. And just like Data, an android as a captain, he's not running off of emotions. He's not running off of his ego. He's doing what's best for the mission. And in this case, he potentially sacrificed his career by disobeying Captain Picard and, doing what he needed to do to locate the Romulan ship. But then at the end, he goes to Picard and fesses up. And actually, another thing that cracks me up about that is he says, I disobeyed orders, and he presents himself for discipline. But I'm thinking, how many times has he hijacked the Enterprise or otherwise, gone rogue? And you're going to be fine, Data. But I would love to serve under Data as a captain. And the way he handled Hobson, he was firm when he needed to be. He got emotional when he needed to be. And
listened to him though, also. Yeah,
I would.
Well, that's very similar to what happens in Ensigns of Command. He tries to reason with the leader of the planet, and he tries cajoling him. He tries giving him data, and finally he has to say, "I'm just going to blow up your aqueduct if you don't come with me."
Some cowboy diplomacy there. So whatever leadership models he's been studying, they are working.
Which is the same thing. It's the same decision. It's kind of not worst case scenario, but last kind of the worst solution, which was the only solution. Now killing Kivas Fajo and blowing up the aqueduct in Ensigns of Command. It's the same type of decision. It's a last ditch attempt to have things turn out well. When I was thinking about leadership characteristics, it's interesting that I thought that you don't see him in a leadership role necessarily. Geordie's chief engineer, he's got all his engineering staff. Dr. Crusher's in charge of all the medical staff. Riker and Troy are in charge of all the crew evaluations. Captain Picard's the captain. But you don't see Data being the head of a department or in command of a team necessarily ever. So I kind of struggle to think about leadership characteristics. And I'm not a natural leader either, so whenever there are leadership characteristics portrayed on screen, I don't necessarily recognise them in myself. However, there was a couple of instances, or one real instance, and others just me trying to be funny, when he decides to go and save Captain Picard in Nemesis and has to basically become a human space torpedo. And that, I think that's, he's taken control of the situation, thought this is what has to be done, and I'm going to do it. So he's led in that sense. The other thing is, it's not really a leadership thing, it's more like, why did he volunteer to do the night shift? Like, he was always on the night shift, but he was always in the day shift because he was always sat at ops. So he just basically didn't stop working.
That's the advantage. He doesn't need to sleep.
Plus
Except
overtime.
when he needs to dream.
Yes.
True.
And if he gets paid time and a half for overtime, then he can buy Spot whatever the heck kind of cat food he wants.
Oh, Rhea, there's no money in the 24th century.
That's right, I forgot. No money at all.
The other episode that I watched was Hero Worship.
Oh, I love that one.
It's a beautiful episode where Data is charged with sort of being the confidant of this boy who's lost his family and blames himself for their deaths. And the boy decides he wants to become an android. So Picard gives Data the command to make him the best android he can be.
Well, Troy.
And it's...
Let's be realistic. It was Troy's counseling that...
But it was Picard that gave the order.
Because Troy recommended it, and Picard is following her counseling.
Yes.
Okay.
You're right.
Thank you.
You're right. But that's an interesting episode when it comes to leadership, too, because that's almost like a one-on-one mentorship that Data is doing. And you get the impression that he learns as much about himself as he does about humanity, right? It's I loved it. It's a really touching episode where I think the audience feels the feelings that Data should be feeling for him. It's so well written.
Yeah.
And that kid actor was fantastic.
Absolutely. And it just really encompassed Brent Spiner's Data. It's just unbelievable. But you learn more about yourself, or you learn anything better when you are trying to teach it.
Yeah.
And so when Data's teaching, hey, this is how you be Data, then Data's learning a lot about himself. It's like, oh, I didn't know I did that. Yeah.
A little bit of trivia about that episode is the kid that played the kid, Timothy.
Timothy, isn't
Yeah, he played for the Cubs. He had a brief minor league career, and I actually umpired him, not knowing that he'd been on Star Trek.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Joe?
What's the other episode with the wee boy who's lost his mum?
That's the one with Worf.
Yeah.
And
because Worf
feels responsible because he was in charge of the away mission that lost his mother. And
Jeremy Astor.
I think those episodes.
Jeremy Astor.
And Marla Astor was his mother.
Yes.
And then the alien on the planet
came to take her shape.
Yes.
Yeah.
I get those episodes mixed up all the time.
So, let's talk about favorite moments or favorite Data-isms, quotes that he's had. Who would like to go first?
I'll go first.
Amy puts her hand up.
Me? Teacher, choose me.
Okay.
Well, one of my favorite quotes comes from All Good Things. And I love it because All Good Things is obviously the series finale. And when we have the before, middle, the past, middle, current. What is it? Okay, we're going to start that over. Because in All Good Things, it has the past, present, and future. And when we see the past Data, it just brings back all the memories of learning about Data from season 1. And when they're in engineering and O'Brien says, well, we're going to have to burn the midnight oil. And Data's like, I would not recommend that. And then has this dialogue with O'Brien who's like, I am curious, what is the etymology of that idiom? I love that. Again, going back to what I remember and think about Data, it's his speech patterns. And that encapsulates everything from season 1 up to season 7. I love that scene. I have used that. What is the etymology of that idiom? And people look at me crazy and I love it, you know? So that is one of my favorite moments for Data.
Do you know, a similar one to that is during the Best of Both Worlds when they beamed down onto the planet after the Borgs attacked it. And like what is the etymology of that idiom? Data says, I believe Commander Shelby erred. There is no evidence of avifaunal or crawling vermicular life forms on Juray 4. And it's just that, it just trips off the tongue, doesn't it?
Yes.
That wasn't one. It's not something he says, but he has said it, and it's quoted by Troy. When she asks Riker, have you ever heard Data define friendship?
Oh. Joe, don't say it.
It's so lovely. Riker says no. And Deanna says, how did you put it? As I experience certain sensory input patterns, my mental pathways become accustomed to them. The inputs eventually are anticipated and even missed when absent. And just that everything about that makes sense.
Yes.
About friendship, you get used to somebody's presence. And then when they're not there, that is what grief and loss is.
Yes.
Your brain's used, trying to rewire itself to, again, get used to them not being there.
So true.
It's so lovely.
That makes me ugly cry, and you know why.
Yeah.
I've seen Amy ugly cry.
When I had to say goodbye to you and Ewan at STLV, and yeah, Ewan
were
sent
like,
me
okay,
that
bye.
quote,
See
and
you
I
later.
was just crying all over again.
Oh. That's where it's good to be an android, I guess. Yeah, those are great. I love his kind of Spockisms, you know, where the way he words things, like you said, Amy, is so cute. But my favorite moment, as we've already said, was I just love the most toys. I love Kivas Fajo. I mean, I just love that episode. In Love Kivas Fajo, I mean, he's just absolutely a wicked villain, but he was portrayed so well to where Data and Android, and this is only season 3. I truly believe that Data felt some kind of rage towards him. That, you know, you think, I mean, you can logic this. Oh yeah, he fired, you know, not phaser, what's it called? The really mean phaser at Fajo because he had to stop him. He said, I cannot permit this to continue. And at the time, like we've already discussed, that was his only means to stop this from continuing. But the fact that he lies to Riker, I think that he was mad. He was angry. He, in that moment, wanted to kill Fajo, not just to stop him from continuing to use and abuse people, but yeah, out of like hatred and vengeance and, you know, the friendship that he had actually developed with Varia, I think was her name, that Fajo killed. Yeah. So I love the ambiguity of that line. That's my favorite.
I like that. Do you think that he felt rage and that he couldn't protect her? And it reminds me in, is it Descent, where the Borg attack and he basically strangles the Borg to death.
Yes.
While saying die, 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 and he's got this rage in him, this real hostility.
The line in Hero Worship that sums up Data is, it's while Data and Timothy are sitting in 10 forward, and Timothy has been given this huge, I think it's an ice cream sundae, and Data says, I would gladly risk feeling bad at times if it also meant that I could taste my dessert.
I think Troy would agree to that.
Yeah. Yeah, one...
Data knows that being human isn't all sunshine and roses, that there are bad times along with the good, and he's willing to accept that in order to have those kinds of connections.
And that's a great commentary on the human condition, too.
Yeah.
I refuse to believe that Data can't taste his dessert.
I'm sure that he was
Because
able to develop a taste subroutine after that.
Well, you know, he can tell what ingredients are in things. He knows what things are made of. He can analyse them. So...
That's what makes him a good bartender.
Yeah, because remember... I can't remember the episode.
Where he's making the tequila sunrise or whatever it was.
Sumerian sunset.
Yes.
No, is it not where Guinan has something new on the bar?
Yes.
I think it's in Generations.
Yeah. Ew,
and
I hate this.
Yeah,
yes.
More?
Exactly.
Please.
So I don't think his ability... He must have had an ability to taste.
Right.
In order
but he didn't have the ability to appreciate it.
I think there's a difference there, isn't there?
Yeah. Taste as in, detect the chemical molecules present and analyze.
Yes. And it's different to being able to taste it, but experience joy from tasting it.
So I have a quote, if I can just interject, that I wanted to say. And this comes from Picard in Nemesis when he's talking and they're having their service for Data. He says, in his quest to be more like us, he helped us to see what it means to be human. His wonder, his curiosity about every facet of human nature allowed all of us to see the best parts of ourselves. He evolved, he embraced change because he always wanted to be better than he was. And I just feel like that is Data. And again, as you said at the top of this podcast, Kevin, like we are seeing ourselves through Data. That's how we are learning about the human condition, is because Data is learning it and we are learning it through him. And I love that quote, and I think Picard says it best.
Agreed. So that brings us to final thoughts. What are our final thoughts about Lieutenant Commander Data?
Well, in true
Rhea?
Star Trek irony, I guess the least human of all is the most human. I feel like quoting Captain Kirk in Star Trek 2 here, but I won't. But like Amy was just saying, in his quest to become more human, he was revealing to us what it is that it makes us human in the first place. It's like if you know how to do something, if it comes naturally, you don't have to think about it. You grow up, you learn to run and walk, and you don't have to think about how to do it. But if you've been in an accident, for example, and you end up with a spinal cord injury and you have to relearn to walk, then you really have to learn how to do it. And Data wasn't born with social graces and emotions and all that, but he had to learn how to do them, and I think that he was a success.
I think you're right in that. I think all the examples we see of Data investigating what it was to be human show us him being the best human that he could be. So I think he's the most human. It's like, I know where you were going with that Star Trek 2 quote. Yeah, he's the best example of humanity that we've seen while not being human.
Yeah, and another aspect that I really admire about Data is his willingness to just always, where whoever he meets, like he's going to give you the benefit of the doubt. He's going to meet you and want to help you once with no judgment at all. And he's met some pretty rotten people like Lore. Mm-hmm. And every single time, nope, that's my brother Lore. Or B4, as I mentioned before. Or even Maddox. Maddox wants to disassemble him.
Yeah.
And he's still no judgment. Hey, when your work gets better, then yeah, let's communicate. And we see that in Data's Day and in the Picard, and Hobson, You know, when with the Sutherland of Redemption, like he's going to take you at face value. He wants to help. He's not going to, you know, come at you with preconceived notions and, well, you should be like this, and so I'm going to treat you this way. Data is just pure, this is what you are, this is who you are, I'm here, I'm going to help you, and I want to help you, and I will do my best. And I love that about Data.
If only we could all be more like that.
I think for an emotionless android, no one picks up friends like Data, right? He has a circle of people who will go to the edges of the galaxy for him. And it's because he is almost the most innocent person in all of Starfleet, right? He does take everything at face value because that's what he sees. And so he believes people when they tell him things. I mean, he's got his sensors that can tell when people are lying, their heart rates are increased and that kind of thing. But on the whole, he's a guy who puts his faith in humanity and puts his trust in his friends, and people will do anything for him. And I think that's what makes him a great person.
And somewhere in San Francisco, there's his head.
Somewhere in San Francisco.
Is that not an old song? I left my head in San Francisco.
Incoming transmission.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on today's show, and we hope you will join the Facebook group Federation Council Chambers. You're welcome to start conversations with us or add any general Star Trek info you want to share with the group.
If you'd like to send us an email, you can email the network at contact@ufp.earth, and we might read your email on the show. In fact, we probably will read your email on the show, so send us an email. If you use bad words, we'll bleep them out.
Please hit the subscribe button on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a star rating and written review. That helps others to find the show. You can also follow the entire network's podcast with our master feed by searching United Federation of Podcasts. This way, you won't miss any of our fine shows like All Good Things, Franchise Fatigue, Always Hold On to Arrow, General Quarters, Mickey's Marvels, Infinite Diversity, and Trek Pod. So, Joe, where can people find you when you are resurrecting an android child?
Oh. Well, you'd find me in the science lab, and my hands would be moving so fast you wouldn't be able to see the motion. That'd be tragic. When I'm not doing that, though, you can tweet me on the Twitter at JoeyJoe77UK. You can also email me, please do so, joepodcasts@gmail.com, and you can find me on the Federation Council Chambers on Facebook. And Kevin, where can people find you when you're being fully functional and programmed in multiple techniques?
You'll have to ask Lieutenant Yar that question. But if I'm not doing that, you can find me on Twitter at True North Nerds, which is the name of a podcast I do with some friends where we talk about all kinds of wonderful geek stuff. Our latest episode is about Wonder Woman 1984. Or you can find me on my other new podcast, Stage Whispers, which is about local theater, live local theater here in Central Ontario. I'm also in the Federation Council Chambers quite a bit, so hit me up there too. So, Rhea, where can people find you when you're not practicing your stand-up comedy routine, your tap dancing, or your violin playing?
Well, you've pretty much covered most of my weekend there, aside from the violin. But no, you can also find me in the Federation Council Chambers. You can send me an email at contact@ufp.earth. I promise that I will respond to that, I don't know, better than I do my personal emails and my work emails. This week in particular, you can find me guesting on an episode of The Expanse, a Star Trek Enterprise podcast on the Nexus Holosuite Media Listeners Network. And
that was, I'm just saying, a great podcast. You did so fabulous. I loved listening to it. And man, you dropped some wisdom about the Borg.
Aw.
Love it.
Yay. And I dropped the name of the famous podcaster Amy Nelson once or twice.
Yeah, once or twice.
Yeah. Yeah, so, that's about it where you can find me. So, Amy, where can people find you when you're not busily singing about life forms while your name is getting dropped on other podcasts?
Well, you can find me here on the network where I co-host All Good Things, and we just recorded our top 1% episode, which we're just decided we're going to run into a whole series. So that talks about all series of Star Treks, and that's really fun. I'm also on Union Federation podcast, which talks about the new Star Trek and the Orville, if that eventually will ever get back. It got delayed again. I don't know if you saw the news. Yeah. Hulu pushed it back, so I'm getting very nervous, to be honest with you. But you can also find me on Twitter at Miss Amy Nelson and right there in the Federation Council chambers.
Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
If you'd like to help us keep all our shows coming to you each week, you can become a patron of the network on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/UFPearth. That's patreon.com/UFPEARTH to get all the details. We have 4 different levels starting at just $1 per month and would appreciate any support you can give us.
We would like to recognize our executive producers, Brandon Shea Mutala, Ken Tripp, Zach Moore, and Tony Robinson. We would also like to thank Zach Tripp for our opening and closing music, and Tony Robinson for always doing an awesome job with our amazing artwork.
Thank you for beaming aboard the Galaxy class, and until next time,
great joy and gratitude.
Mr. O'Brien said the weapon was in a state of discharge. Perhaps something occurred during transport, Commander. Stay classy, Galaxy.
As I experience certain sensory input patterns, my mental pathways become accustomed to them. The inputs eventually are anticipated and even missed when absent.
I have many human friends. I would be pleased to count you among them.
Engage.
This has been a production of MTMR Media Works.
I can't believe no one mentioned life forms. Do-do-do-do. You little life forms. Do-do-do-do.